I spent $10,000 to buy the gloomy male lead, the main villain from the book, and brought him home, but now he is a cripple with both legs broken. Instead of meeting his destined death, I took him home and forced him to become my house husband. With a sinister and obsessive look, he picked up a long knife and sneered, "Yellow croaker, guess what I'm going to do to you today? Steamed or braised with scallions, you choose." Later, the male and female leads came to the door. And he was washing the fat cat I had just picked up with a sour expression on his face. "All you do all day is bring these things home, and in the end, it's me who has to take care of them. What are you here for? Since you're here, don't just stand around. Go wash my wife's clothes." Just before the end of the workday, a commotion suddenly broke out in the ward. This kind of thing is all too common in hospitals, and I've even prepared a speech to persuade the family. But before I could even open my mouth after entering the ward, I was slammed hard by a wheelchair and nearly fell to the ground. Before I could steady myself, I heard a sharp voice, "Whoever wants this cripple can have him, but I'm definitely not paying the medical bills. If it comes to it, just push him out of the hospital and let him die." The man in the wheelchair hung his head low, showing no reaction to these words, if not for the slight rise and fall of his chest. I would have almost thought he was dead. The head nurse stood there awkwardly, trying to calm the woman who had spoken, but only received a sharp glare in return. Then, she pushed past all of us and spat fiercely at the man who remained silent with his head bowed. "Ha, if I were you, I would have died long ago, so as not to be a burden to others." The man showed no reaction even after being spat on in the face, remaining as still as a statue. I quickly grabbed a tissue and stepped forward to carefully clean the filth from his hair, taking the opportunity to get a clear look at his face. He was a strikingly handsome man, with skin so pale it seemed almost translucent, now veiled by a shadowy gloom that gave him a uniquely captivating beauty. I was so mesmerized by his beauty that I froze for a moment, only snapping back to reality when my face flushed with embarrassment. Turning to the head nurse, I asked, "What's wrong with him?" The head nurse sighed helplessly. "The car accident damaged his nerves, leaving his legs paralyzed. No one is taking care of him, and now he owes nearly $10,000 in medical bills. His aunt isn't willing to pay, so there's nothing we can do." I looked at the man thoughtfully, pulled out my phone to check my balance, and made up my mind before saying to the woman, "If you don't want him, then I'll take him." The head nurse was taken aback. "Sarah, you don't mean..." I chuckled. "It's fine. I have enough money." She looked at me with disapproval in her eyes. "There are so many sick people in this world. You can't possibly pay all their medical bills, can you? Besides, you just graduated. You should focus on supporting yourself first." The man in the wheelchair shifted slightly upon hearing this. I tossed my head confidently. "Don't worry, sis. I know what I'm doing. I'm only helping this one." The woman snorted coldly at my words. "I've never seen anyone bring a cripple home before. If you're so eager to be a do-gooder, take him with you and don't bother me again." With that said, she turned and walked away, afraid that I might catch up and pass this hot potato back to her. Looking at the man in the wheelchair, I couldn't help but feel a wave of emotion. For over 20 years since I transmigrated into this book, I have been living diligently as an extra, carefully avoiding any plot related to the male and female leads. In the end, I actually ended up picking up the big bad boss and bringing him home. Once an arrogant prodigy, now I brought him home with just 10,000 yuan. After arriving home, he still refused to speak to me. In the small rented room, only my monologue could be heard. "What's your name? How old are you? Are you hungry? Should I cook something for you?" He didn't answer any of my questions, just kept his head down, staring motionlessly at his numb legs. Seeing this, I had to step forward, lift his head, and ask him word by word while looking into his dust-covered eyes. I said, "Are you hungry?" He didn't seem to expect me to do this, his shocked pupils trembling slightly. After a moment, he replied, "Simon, 27 years old." His voice was hoarse, like a rusted pocket watch, as if he hadn't spoken in a long time. It took me a moment to realize he was answering my earlier question, but he still hadn't told me what he wanted to eat. "All right, Simon, if you don't say anything, I'll just cook according to my own taste. By the way, my name is Sarah. I'm 2 years younger than you, and I was born in the year of the rabbit." I made a large pot of egg fried rice using the leftover rice from last night, divided it into 2 bowls, and handed one to him. Without even lifting a finger, Simon turned his head away. He didn't take it, so I kept holding it out. I don't know how long it took, but my hands started trembling so much that I could no longer hold the bowl steady. Only then did he reach out, take it and place it on the nearby table, but he still didn't eat, just silently hung his head. I also got angry. Who are you angry with? A child? Fine, if you won't eat, then I won't eat either. I'll follow your example and starve myself. He suddenly looked up, glanced at me quickly, and then lowered his head again. In that glance, there was confusion, shock, and surprise, but not a trace of trust. I kept my word and dragged my body, exhausted from 2 days of overtime, to stay up with him until late at night. Just as my mouth began to taste sour and my stomach started churning, the statue before me finally moved. He licked his parched lips and uttered a hoarse voice, "Could you pour me a glass of water?" I stood up, my body swaying uncontrollably for a moment. After steadying myself, I shook my head and looked down at him, saying, "If you drink water, you have to eat properly, understand?" He gave an almost imperceptible nod. I then went out to boil a kettle of hot water and casually handed him a straw. After he finished drinking the water, he slowly began to eat the long cold, greasy fried rice. He ate while watching me, and when he saw I wasn't eating, he even stopped scooping the rice with his spoon. At this moment, he didn't seem like a ruthless villain boss, but more like an insecure kitten that had been adopted after being homeless. I sighed helplessly, snatched his food back, poured it back into the pan, added some shredded meat, stir-fried it a few times, and returned it to him. "All right, eat up, I'll eat too." Simon held the bowl of shredded meat fried rice and pushed half of the shredded meat to me. When I looked up at him, he lowered his head again, pretending as if nothing had happened. This person is really awkward. When it was time to sleep, I wanted to take off his clothes and carry him to bed. It was nothing to me. I do the same for every patient with limited mobility, but he stubbornly gripped the wheelchair armrests, his face flushed red, refusing to let me carry him. "Go out, you go out, I can manage on my own." I stood with my arms crossed, refusing to move, just watching him, under my gaze. He seemed to be on the verge of breaking. After a long while, he lifted his head, his eyes moist and pleading. "Please go out, those wet, puppy dog eyes are what I can't stand the most." I sighed and turned around to close the door. From inside the room came the harsh sound of friction and the rustling of clothes being taken off. Then, with a dull thud, came the sound of a body hitting the floor. Before my hand could even touch the doorknob, I heard a tearful voice from inside, "Don't come in, let me handle it myself." Hearing this, I had no choice but to step back 3 paces, though I remained closely attentive to the movements inside the room. I don't know how much time passed before he finally spoke in a hoarse voice. "All right, you can come in now." As soon as I entered, I saw the mess all over the floor, clothes scattered everywhere and the wheelchair tipped over on its side. Simon was curled up on my small bed, his back covered in cold sweat exposed to the air. Trembling faintly, I didn't say anything, just walked over and tucked the blanket around him, then turned to tidy up the room. "What would you like to eat tomorrow? I'll buy the groceries in advance." He didn't respond, and I didn't ask again. Every person who has just become disabled goes through this. They need time to accept their incompleteness and to build the psychological awareness that they need help. I understand his feelings very well, but I also know that life is not a novel. There isn't much time left for him to be fragile. I'll give him at most 3 more days. No matter how he feels, he must pull himself together. After cleaning up the remaining mess, I slept on the floor that night. I woke up the next day with the sun already high in the sky. Luckily, it was my day off, or I would have been in trouble. There was an extra blanket on me, probably put there by Simon. He was still in the same position as last night. I calmly turned him over and pulled him out from under the covers. He hadn't eaten properly in so long and had been sick for a while, so there was hardly any flesh left on his body. I easily picked him up, ignoring his struggles, and headed to the bathroom. "Will you do it yourself, or should I help you?" His face flushed red as he stood before the toilet, veins bulging on his hands, unable to utter a single word. I didn't let him off, staring into his eyes and asking the same question over and over again. "Will you do it yourself, or should I help you?" Finally, in a voice as faint as a mosquito's hum, he said, "You help me, I can't do it alone." Without waiting for him to finish, I yanked down his pants, and he closed his eyes in humiliation, tears silently tracing the corners of his eyes. But in the end, he said nothing. We spent a peaceful morning. Simon is still awkward, but he has started to ask for help when things come up. What worries me the most is his self-destructive tendency. More than once, I've seen him secretly take a small knife and move it back and forth against his neck, only to be interrupted by me when he was about to make a decision. I hid the knife over and over, but it eventually fell out from a pile of clothes when I shook them. I calmly threw the knife into the trash. But Simon erupted in anger. Do I not even have the right to die now? His veins bulged, and he was so overwhelmed with pain that he lost his voice, helplessly slumping in his wheelchair, gasping for breath. I looked at him and felt a moment of softness in my heart, but it quickly hardened. Simon, your life was bought back by me with $10,000. You have no right to dispose of your own life as you please. Suicide, self-harm, self-abandonment. What else can you do besides these things that only bring pain to those who care and joy to your enemies? He closed his eyes and squeezed out a sentence through gritted teeth. I have no one who cares. Am I not your kin, after all? I did save your life. He fell silent, allowing his tears to flow freely without a word. Why did you save me? Do we have any relationship? I didn't answer the question directly and just continued on my own. I'm an orphan, the kind with no family left. I grew up relying on the kindness of others for meals. In middle school, I got sick. It wasn't serious, but it required a lot of money. At that time, I only had $20, not enough to buy any medicine. And no one was willing to buy it for me. My tone was very calm, as if I were not telling my own story. I could only curl up on my dorm bed, praying that I wouldn't die. At that time, I thought, if I survived and met someone like me, I would definitely save them. I couldn't let them fall into despair and wait for death like I did. Saying this, I crouched down, gently resting my head on his unresponsive legs, my voice ethereal. So, for my sake, please try to live a little longer. Simon didn't speak, only instinctively tightening his grip on my sleeve. After that, he never attempted suicide again. During the day, I had to go to work, while Simon had to stay at home. I could only prepare his meals in advance, set up the bedpan, and carefully hide all the knives before I dared to go to work with peace of mind. After work, I had to cook for him, do the laundry, and bathe him, and each time I was so exhausted that I fell asleep as soon as I lay down. Simon remained as quiet as ever, but he started helping me with whatever he could, until one day after work, I didn't see him in the living room. Simon, Simon, I called his name all the way to the bedroom but still couldn't find him. Panicked and in a hurry, I tripped over my own feet and took a hard fall. The sound startled Simon, who hurried over in his wheelchair, carrying the scent of cooking oil and a spatula. What happened? How did you fall? I propped myself up using his leg, dusted off my clothes, and said, I called for you earlier, but you didn't respond. I got a little anxious. He sighed helplessly, a flicker of life returning to his eyes. I was in the kitchen earlier. The range hood was too loud. I didn't hear you calling. Oh, seeing that I was fine, Simon went back to the kitchen in his wheelchair. There's just one more dish to go before we eat. By the way, could you hang up the clothes in the washing machine? I can't reach the clothesline. All right. I ate dinner with mixed feelings. This was the first time I had ever tasted Simon's cooking. The man across from me looked as calm as ever and casually said, From now on, I'll handle the cooking at home. You should just rest after work. I nodded. It wasn't until I was standing in the kitchen washing dishes that I realized he had said this was home. Simon has already started treating me as one of his own. Big win, Sarah. The next day, I woke up early and bought groceries in advance. Simon, I want to eat braised spare ribs. He rarely showed an embarrassed and awkward expression. I don't know how to cook. Seeing this, I gave a sly smile and handed him a phone. Then look up a recipe. I've also gotten you a SIM card and added my WeChat. If anything comes up, just call me. He took it hesitantly. Okay, just as I was about to leave, he suddenly called out to me, Oh, right, remember to buy a bottle of soy sauce after work. We're almost out at home. Got it, got it. From that day on, Simon went from thinking about how to kill himself every day to thinking about what dish to cook today and what soup to stew tomorrow. Our chat history was also filled with him asking what I wanted to eat, reminding me to buy groceries, and not to forget the meat. I watched as he transformed from a gloomy villain boss into a house husband. But his increasingly rosy complexion told me that he at least didn't reject his current life. At the dinner table, I sipped my rib soup and casually asked him, Have you ever thought about standing up again? I have a senior who is excellent at rehabilitation techniques. She's coming to our area soon. Would you like? Before I could finish, the person in front of me turned cold and slammed his chopsticks. I'm done eating. Watching his angry retreating figure, I was speechless and choked up. I chased after him into the room, grabbed his arm, and pleaded earnestly, Your injury isn't that old. With some effort, you can still stand up. Let's give it a try, okay? He looked at me, his eyes gradually reddening, and sneered, "Do you also despise me for being a cripple? Do you also not want me anymore?" I was startled, not understanding how he had interpreted it that way. "I didn't mean it that way." "That's exactly what you mean, you're looking down on me because I'm a useless person." "If that's the case, why didn't you just let me die earlier?" Seeing him lash out without thinking, my expression also changed. "Simon, do you realize what you're saying?" He didn't respond, letting his tears hang on his face without wiping them away, only sneering defiantly at me. After a long standoff, I suddenly felt it was pointless. If that's what you think, I can't help it. I'm human too, and I'm exhausted after a day's work. Let's just rest. We inexplicably started a cold war. Life went on as usual. I continued working, and he kept cooking, except we no longer exchanged unnecessary words. Sometimes he wouldn't speak for 3 days straight. The weight Simon had painstakingly gained quietly disappeared again. He started staring blankly at knives again, having nightmares night after night, struggling awake only to remain silent. We never touched upon his past, and I was powerless in the face of his evasive attitude. I'm already exhausted from work every day, and then I have to face his sour face after getting off work. It makes me so angry that my liver hurts, and I don't even know who to vent to. A loud bang, followed by several crackling sounds, startled me so much that I couldn't even pretend not to hear it. Rushing into the bedroom, I saw Simon lying on the ground with a look of suppressed pain on his face. Broken dishes and bowls were scattered all around him, and a few shards had cut his cheeks. "My liver is hurting again." After helping him up, he suddenly hugged me tightly. Simon clung to me so tightly that I couldn't move at all. "What are you doing? Weren't you just saying you wanted to die?" My tone was stiff, but Simon's eyes turned red. I don't know where a villain boss like him got so many tears. He leaned against me, his voice softening. "Don't abandon me. I'll be obedient." "When did I ever say I would abandon you?" He didn't answer, only buried himself deeper into the crook of my neck. "You know, you're all I have." "Yes. We only have each other." One is an orphan whose entire family died after transmigrating into a book. The other is a disabled villain abandoned by everyone. In this world, who else can we rely on but each other? At this thought, my heart of stone melted into water. I raised my hand and patted his back, lying down with him on the bed. "All right, I'm not abandoning you." He nodded off in my arms, still looking aggrieved. And even when he was fast asleep, I couldn't pry his hand away. How can someone so thin have such a strong grip? After clearing things up, his condition clearly improved a lot. The gloomy and paranoid man picked up a long knife and sneered, "Yellow croaker, guess what I'm going to do to you today? Steamed or scallion braised? You choose." I, on the side, put on a high-pitched voice. "Oh, I'm going to be made into scallion braised." "Scallion braised yellow croaker goes best with mackerel dumplings." Simon helplessly looked up at me and chopped off the fish head with his knife. The dark, villainous second male lead, who had caused the death of the male lead's mother, was supposed to have his legs broken as punishment and then be used as a human shield by the male lead, dying in the process. But now, he's standing there wearing an apron, staring coldly at the meat I bought today. "Do you even know this isn't fresh?" I rubbed my nose and said sheepishly, "I got off work late today." Simon sneered coldly, "Working late or enjoying petting the cat too much? You saw me. How did you see me? Did you go out?" He remained silent, simply pulling out a telescope I had bought who knows how many years ago, setting it up by the window, and pointing it directly at the route I always take home from work. My laughter grew even more guilty. He sneered coldly and announced indifferently, "You won't be seeing braised pork ribs this week." I screamed, wailed, and threw a tantrum. "No, no. Simon, you're the best. Don't make me break up with braised pork ribs." He glanced at me coldly, snorted, and brought out a plate of sweet and sour spare ribs. "All right, I can break up with braised pork ribs, sweet and sour spare ribs. Let's get married." I changed my expression faster than a chameleon. Simon looked at me with amusement, his eyes, once as still as dead water, now bathed in sunlight and full of life. The green plant I brought back by the window had quietly sprouted new buds, swaying with a touch of green in the breeze. It was the breath of life. A heavy downpour started during the night shift. I stared at the pouring rain outside the door, feeling worried. I couldn't get a taxi, and it was impossible for me to ride my electric scooter home. Just as I was hesitating whether to make a run for it and dash back home, a few honks caught my attention. Looking up, I saw a doctor from the same department waving at me from his car. He shouted, "Sarah, get in, I'll take you home." Great, I covered my head with my bag and rushed into the heavy rain, only to be pulled into the car by him. Oh my, such heavy rain. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't know how to get home. It's nothing, we're all colleagues. After arriving home, I invited him upstairs to sit for a while. We chatted and laughed all the way up the stairs, and before I could reach out, the door opened from the inside. Simon's anxious expression was exposed in front of me, but his face instantly turned cold when he saw my colleague beside me. He blocked the doorway and asked me in a chilling tone, "Who is he?" My colleague scratched his head and smiled, extending his hand proactively. "Hello. I'm Sarah's colleague. My name is." "I wasn't asking you." His sudden outburst of anger scared me and also startled my colleague. "What are you doing?" If it weren't for him giving me a ride home, I don't know how drenched I would have been. Hearing my words, Simon, who had been furious just moments before, seemed to have all the fight drained out of him in an instant. He gave me a deep look, slowly hunched his back, turned around, and wheeled himself back to his room in his wheelchair. In that glance, there was a faint hint of tears. My colleague also let out a bitter smile and said, "Sarah, did he misunderstand something?" With a complicated look in my eyes, I stared at his retreating figure and vaguely said a few words to my colleague before sending him away. Then, I quietly entered the room, only to find the bedroom door locked from the inside. "Simon, what's wrong? Why aren't you opening the door?" There was no sound from inside, as if no one was there. I patiently kept knocking on the door, but in the end, I felt wrong too. "Simon, I'm hungry." As soon as the words were spoken, the door in front of me clicked open with a clack. Simon, pushing the wheelchair, lowered his head and walked into the kitchen. He brought out a bowl of steaming braised pork ribs and set out a pair of bowls and chopsticks. After finishing these tasks, he went alone to the window and stared blankly at the green plants. "Aren't you going to eat?" He didn't speak. It feels like we've gone back to the time when I first brought him home. I was the only one talking non-stop, while he remained silent, lost in his own world. Am I, especially useless? It wasn't until my throat was dry from talking that I finally heard him say this. It didn't seem like he was talking to me, just murmuring to himself. I frowned at him and asked in confusion, "Why do you say you're particularly useless? You're great. You cook well, wash clothes cleanly, and keep the house spotless every day." He let out a bitter laugh, looked up at me, and said, "Sarah, I can't go pick you up when it's pouring rain. I can't even bring you an umbrella. I can only sit at home praying that you're okay, trying my best not to be a burden. When I see someone else bringing you home, I should be happy. At least you're not getting soaked. But I'm so angry and upset. Why am I so incompetent? I can't do anything for you, Sarah. I hate this helpless version of myself. If I could, I would keep you by my side, making sure you see only me, rely only on me, and depend solely on me, instead of being a cripple who can only cook and do laundry." Half of his face was hidden in the darkness, his expression unclear. A flash of lightning cut through the sky, illuminating his features. His face was pale and stern, his eyes filled with obsession and madness. It was only then that I realized why the author described him as brooding. I had always thought of him as a kitten, forgetting that he was actually a tiger with a broken leg, ready to thirst for blood and devour at any moment. In the suffocating silence, he wheeled his chair toward me and tightly grasped my hand. "Sarah, will you still accept me like this?" All the descriptions of him from the books materialized in that moment. He stared at me unblinkingly, as if beholding the most exquisite delicacy in the world. I was so creeped out by his stare that I broke out in a fine, cold sweat and could only say dryly, "No, how could that be? We'll always be family to each other." "Family?" He savored the word for a moment, then laughed. "Just family, Sarah, how cruel, but family is fine too, as long as I can have you all to myself. Any title will do." His intentions are clear as day, yet I was startled. I can't tell if his words at this moment are sincere or just an illusion. Perhaps he has developed a love-like illusion from our daily interactions. What if it's just the suspension bridge effect? And he has misunderstood his own heart. If that's the case, then one day he will come to his senses, and one day he will abandon me. The tiger will return to its own territory, and as for me, a mere rabbit, I can only either become a meal on his plate or stay far away from him. I forced a faint smile, masking the panic inside. "Of course, we will always be together." He stared at me, slowly revealing an icy smile. "Sarah, you will be mine." The feeling of being targeted by a predator was truly unsettling. I made up a few lies and quickly retreated to my room. By the time my heartbeat finally calmed down, I was drenched in sweat. Simon, however, remained as calm as ever. After getting into bed, he asked me, "Do you want to come up? It's too humid after the rain." I hesitated for a moment, then nodded. The reason was simple: if I didn't keep warm, my period would teach me a lesson. Simon took off his upper clothes. Revealing his pale skin, he leaned slightly against me and asked thoughtfully, "Is this okay? Are you comfortable?" Faced with his ambiguous words, I could only nod randomly without answering. Half asleep, I heard a soft, sigh-like whisper from behind. "Sarah, your feelings for me are actually the same as mine, right? It's okay. From the day you brought me home, I've belonged to you. I'll wait for you." In the days that followed, the two of us kept our distance, or rather, I was the one keeping my distance. It wasn't that I was being overly self-absorbed. It was just that Simon had stopped pretending. He would frequently hold my hand or brush against my head, his gaze so intense it felt like he wanted to devour me completely. At that moment, I felt relieved again. Thank goodness he was disabled, otherwise I would have been finished. We managed to live peacefully for a few days, at least, until one evening after work. The room was pitch black. Without a single glimmer of light, my phone had also run out of battery, so I had to fumble around in the darkness to find the switch. I pressed it for a while but got no response, and then a voice suddenly spoke up, startling me. "The power's out, stop pressing it." Then, a slippery hand grasped mine, and by the faint moonlight, I could barely make out that it was Simon. Feeling a bit more at ease, I let him lead me to the bedroom. A few candles were lit in the bedroom, casting a soft, flickering yellow light. Even Simon's usually stern face appeared softer in the glow. He looked into my eyes across the dancing candlelight, and a faint warmth spread between our gazes. I felt uneasy and wanted to look away, but he gently turned my face back, forcing me to meet his deep, intense eyes. "Sarah, today is your birthday." I was startled, suddenly realizing it was already October. I had been so busy that I forgot. "How did you know? I never told you, did I?" He smiled gently. "I saw your ID card when I was doing your laundry before. I don't have any money right now, and I don't have anything to give you, so I made a cake myself. I'll go get it for you." I felt a slight warmth in my heart. "Okay." He went out holding a candle and didn't return for a long time. I groped my way out in confusion but almost tripped over something. I looked down and saw that it was Simon who had fallen. He was covered in cream, with a smashed cake and long extinguished candles beside him. I hurriedly helped him up, but his eyes were red, on the verge of tears, and he said cautiously, "Sarah, I knocked over the cake. It's okay. Are you hurt? What should I do? I ruined your birthday." Hearing this, I felt both annoyed and amused. Why does he always use this trick to play the victim? How can you say you ruined a birthday that I had forgotten myself? As I spoke, I wiped a dollop of cream from his face and put it in my mouth. "All right, I've eaten the cake and received the gift." He was startled by my action, and even in the dim moonlight, the blush on his face was clearly visible. What gift?" I laughed and ruffled his fluffy head. You are my gift. The most beautiful miracle fate has given me." Simon suddenly looked up, his eyes sparkling as he gazed at me, all traces of his fierce facade gone. "So, you've fallen for me too, right?" I nodded silently. "So, I'm worthy to stand by your side, right?" I sighed and responded repeatedly as I picked him up. At that moment, the power came back on, and the room was instantly flooded with light, leaving no place to hide the traces of his deliberate fall. I looked at him, laughed in exasperation, and gently poked his forehead with my finger. "All right, I'll take you for a bath." He blushed and lowered his head in agreement. This bath was particularly uncomfortable. Although I had taken baths before, it felt different today. His entire body turned as red as a boiled shrimp, and he awkwardly avoided looking at me. It wasn't until I carried him back to bed that he mustered the courage to hook his hand with mine, looking at his shy, blushing expression like a timid bride. I could only helplessly lower my head until our foreheads touched. "All right, I'll go get ready. You can let go now." He refused, tilting his head up and smiling at me. "Give me a kiss." I gave a forced smile. "Simon, don't push your luck." Simon looked up innocently, cautiously leaning in to lick my hand. "Sarah." I had no choice but to lean down and gently kiss his forehead. "All right, I'll take you for rehabilitation tomorrow." "Okay." The joy on his face instantly faded, and just as he was about to refuse with a dark expression, I cut him off with one sentence. "Do you want to take our wedding photos in a wheelchair?" "Of course not." "Then why aren't you going to rehabilitation?" "All right then." The process of rehabilitation is always long and painful. for a favored son like him, repeatedly falling in front of others and scrambling back up in such a disheveled state was undoubtedly a form of torture. His legs, which had once been numb and unfeeling, were now once again consumed by pain. He would often wake in the middle of the night from the pain, staring blankly at the moon outside his window. I couldn't bear to see him like this, so I had no choice but to comfort him, saying, "If the pain is truly unbearable, let's take a break for a while." But he shook his head firmly. "Sarah, I want to stand up and stand by your side as a man, and I want you to rely on me too. Besides, for all these years, my legs have been completely numb. Now that I can feel pain, it's like a gift from fate. At least it gives me hope." My nose tingled with emotion, and I gently leaned against his shoulder. "All right, I'll listen to you. Let's continue the treatment." Thanks to the foundation I had built by consistently massaging and exercising for him, his recovery progressed remarkably fast, from being completely unaware at first to being in unbearable pain. I can now take a few slow steps with the help of crutches. As soon as I was able to get out of bed, he insisted on bringing me meals every day, flaunting his status as the rightful partner in front of my colleagues. On the day his custom-made crutches were ready, we got our marriage certificate. He held those two thin little red booklets, turning them over and over, constantly caressing them. "All right, if you keep touching it, it'll get polished. I'm just curious since it's my first time getting married." Upon hearing this, I furrowed my brows and glared at him fiercely. "What, are you planning to get married a second time?" No, I only want to spend my life with our Sarah." How could I dare to have any other thoughts? But the past does not fade away with the wind, it never even passes. On an ordinary day, the male and female leads from the story came knocking at my door. By then, they had already reached the end of their story, happily married and living in peace, but they arrived with bags full of gifts. An attractive couple awkwardly standing at my doorstep, scratching their heads. I thought they had come to the wrong house. "Excuse me, this is my home." I squeezed past them and opened the door. But to my surprise, their eyes lit up when they saw me, and they quickly asked, "Do you know Simon? What do you want with my husband?" Hearing that they were looking for Simon, I immediately became alert and withdrew my hand from the door, tightly clutching the keys. I know Simon's past is complicated, but everything has been calm lately, and I thought the past was behind us, but I never expected someone to show up at my door. "I'm his brother. My name is Charles." The man's voice was as faint as a wisp, as if admitting he was Simon's brother took every ounce of his strength. As soon as he finished speaking, I remembered his identity, the male lead in the original plot, a ruthless character who, as an illegitimate child, managed to overthrow Simon. Then the woman beside him must be the female lead, Bella. She's also a decisive and ruthless character. I have mixed feelings and don't know whether I should let them in. Before I could make up my mind, the door swung open. Simon stood there with a grim expression, his clothes soaked, and from deep inside the room came the sound of a cat's desperate cries. It seemed he had just finished bathing the chubby cat I brought home yesterday. "You're always bringing these things home, and in the end, it's me who has to take care of them. What are you two doing here? Since you're here, don't just stand around. Go wash my wife's clothes." Charles gave Simon an awkward smile, didn't dwell on what he had just said, and walked in carrying several bags. The couple sat uncomfortably on my small sofa. No, don't bother. We don't want any oranges." All right, we'll peel them ourselves." Finally, the male and female leads each held a huge ugly orange in their hands, watching Simon struggle with the cat in the bathtub. "If you keep picking up these things and bringing them home again, I'll never let you hear the end of it." Hearing this, I yelled back at him from the kitchen at the top of my lungs. If I weren't so fond of randomly picking things up, how would I have picked you up back then? He grunted a few times and fell silent. Then, I heard Charles mutter dazedly, "Is that Simon, or am I dreaming?" Bella also looked blank. "Maybe, probably, possibly." After eating the ugly orange, he threw an unpeeled one to Charles. "Peel it." Charles mechanically started peeling, and only after peeling half did he remember why he had come. He jolted and stood up abruptly. "Right, I have something important to discuss with you. I'm sorry about your leg, but your mother wasn't driven to her death by my mother, so..." Simon let out a casual, "Ah," and said, "I know, it was all that old bastard's doing. Didn't he kill your mother too?" To put it bluntly, he just can't stand seeing us live well. Charles froze, not expecting that he had known all along. Hearing this, I worriedly placed a hand on Simon's shoulder. This is a part of his past that I have never been involved in, and I don't know how to comfort him. All I can do is give him a little warmth as much as I can. He turned around and smiled at me, patting my hand to signal that I didn't need to worry. Charles, I don't hate you, and you don't need to feel guilty or anything. That messy account between us has long been impossible to sort out. Upon hearing this, Charles felt even more guilty. He took out a bank card and spoke with embarrassment. There's 40 million in here. Before he could finish speaking, Simon snatched the card from his hand. Yeah, okay, you can keep the sentiment, but I'll take the money. Oh, and by the way, remember to buy this apartment for me as a gift. Bella was speechless. I found it amusing and reached out to pull Bella toward the balcony to see the cat. Let them sort out their own issues. Let's go play with the kitten. Charles raised an eyebrow in surprise as he watched Simon calmly examine the bank card and said, "You've changed a lot, in the past. If I did something like this, you would have thrown a punch right away, thinking I was disrespecting you." Simon hummed twice as he pocketed the bank card, then glanced at the wedding photo nearby, where the man and woman inside were smiling sweetly. "My wife is pregnant, and with my leg in this condition, there's no use in clinging to pride anymore. Pride won't feed my wife and child." As he spoke, he looked over at Bella, who was carefully protecting her pregnant belly while gently teasing the kitten, and scoffed. "Besides, aren't you the same?" Upon hearing this, Charles's expression softened as well. Love is such a wondrous thing. It makes flowers fold their thorns and gives people both courage and vulnerability. Before they could continue their lament, "I lost my temper. Have you said enough? If you have, then hurry up and cook. Are you trying to starve me to death?" All right, I'm going right now." After finishing the meal, when they were about to leave, I enthusiastically stuffed a bunch of side dishes made by Simon into their hands. "Come visit again when you have time." Simon scowled and refused, saying, "Our family of 3 is enough. If any more people come, there won't be enough space in the house." After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. When I was 3 years old, my mother took my brother and me to the city but left me at the train station. My brother tried to call out to me, but she covered his mouth. "Don't call her. Your sister is a malicious supporting character, a jinx. Keeping her will bring disaster to us in the future." Just as I was about to burst into tears, my vision suddenly blurred. This is where the vicious female antagonist is abandoned, and the female lead's parents kindly adopt her, only to be robbed and exploited by her, leading to the family's ruin. The female lead's parents are about to approach from the left front. If they don't adopt her, how could she possibly push the female lead down the stairs in the future, causing her to lose her first child? Is the antagonist's mother also here? She's about to abandon her husband and child to elope. The antagonist chases after her but ends up being abducted by human traffickers. I glanced at the happy family of 3 not far away and the man passing by holding a child. Without hesitation, I rushed over and hugged his leg. "Help, my brother is about to be taken away by the bad guys." I stood in the bustling crowd at the train station, holding a melting lollipop in my hand. "Today is my 3rd birthday. Early in the morning, Mom took my brother and me to the city. She said she would buy me a small cake and a little dress to celebrate my birthday. She told me to wait here obediently, and that she and my brother would be back soon. But I waited for a very, very long time. The lollipop was starting to melt, and the sticky syrup was dripping down my hand. I carefully licked it. So sweet." My younger brother saw I had a lollipop and started crying and fussing, wanting one too, but Mom stopped him. "When he comes back, I'll give him half." "But why hasn't Mom come back yet? Is she lost?" I stood on tiptoe, looking around in the crowd. Suddenly, I saw a familiar figure not far away. It was Mom holding my younger brother. I ran over, but they hadn't noticed me yet. As I got closer, I heard Mom whispering to my brother, "Hurry up and leave. Your sister is the vicious supporting female character, a jinx. If we keep her around, she'll end up killing us." Vicious supporting female character, a jinx. I froze in place. Is Mom talking about me? It was her who caused your death in your previous life. In this life, Mom will never let history repeat itself. My younger brother struggled to call out to me but was tightly muffled by Mom. They quickly disappeared into the crowd, not noticing that I was standing right behind them. "Mom, did you abandon me? What did I do wrong? Is it because I spent all the family's money on cakes and little dresses? Then I don't want them anymore. Can you take me home with you?" Just as I was at a loss and about to cry, my vision suddenly blurred. Something black, like an earthworm, appeared. I couldn't understand it. They were crawling very fast. Not long after, those earthworms suddenly turned into unfamiliar voices. This is where the malicious female supporting character was abandoned, and the female lead's parents kindly adopted her, but she ended up stealing and seizing everything, causing the family to be ruined. The female lead's parents are about to come from the front left. If they don't adopt her, how could the female lead be pushed down the stairs by her in the future and lose her first child? Is the antagonist's mother also here? She's about to abandon her husband and child to elope. The antagonist chases after her but ends up being kidnapped by human traffickers. They also say I'm the vicious supporting female character. I will be adopted by the female lead Molly's parents. Because I was jealous of her, not only did I secretly bully her, but after she got together with the male lead Andy, I pushed her down the stairs, causing the death of her first child. I was so scared that my mouth fell open. That was truly vicious. The barrage continues to refresh. The villain William has already chased to the train station and almost found his mother. Unfortunately, he was captured by human traffickers and sold to a remote mountain for 3 years, turning dark from then on. So, this is the reason he later became a Yandere villain. How pitiful. Is a child about to be taken by a human trafficker? I turned my head sharply and looked around. Not far away, a grimy man was holding a little boy in his arms. The boy's mouth was covered, and he was struggling fiercely. Without hesitation, I dashed toward them. After running just a few steps, I saw a couple with a little girl in a princess dress walking toward us from the left front. Bullet comments. Female lead Molly and her parents have arrived. Run quickly. Don't adopt this malicious supporting female character. Inviting a wolf into the house, the supporting female character must have seen how well-dressed the female lead and her family were and deliberately bumped into them. I ran in the direction of Molly and her family, but as I passed by them, I didn't stop, instead rushing straight toward the menacing man holding the little boy. Help, my brother is being taken away by a bad person, I shouted with all my might. Clinging tightly to the kidnapper's leg, the man's face suddenly changed, and he raised his hand to hit me. Where did this wild girl come from? Get lost. I bit his wrist hard, making him howl in pain. You little bitch, I'll kill you. The people around gathered. You, a grown man, hitting a child. Are you even human? The human trafficker, with a ferocious expression, grabbed me by the collar and threw me to the ground. My butt hurt so much from the impact. That little brat is a bastard my wife had with her lover outside. Her mother beats my son every day for her sake. I'm taking my son back today no matter what. If he stays in that woman's hands any longer, my son will lose his life. He's not my dad. The little brother who was caught took the chance to shout. I don't know him. The crowd began to stir, murmuring among themselves. I was so anxious that tears started falling. He's lying. I don't know him, and that little boy isn't his son. The boy seized the opportunity to stomp hard on the trafficker's foot and broke free. The human trafficker was furious, raising his hand to hit me. But I was pulled by the collar by the young man, dodging left and right. Stop it, a voice sounded. I turned to look and saw Molly's father. He walked over with a grim expression. You say this is your son? Of course. The human trafficker's eyes darted nervously. Then what's his name? Molly's mother also stepped forward, shielding us in front. You say your wife abuses your son, so why is he dressed so well while this little girl is dressed so plainly? My family is poor. My mother rarely buys me clothes, so all my clothes are washed until they're faded. The human trafficker stammered and couldn't answer. The surrounding crowd also noticed something was wrong and began to criticize. He clearly isn't the real father. What kind of father hits a child like that? Is this a human trafficker? Call the police quickly. Molly's father had already taken out his phone and dialed 911. Seeing the situation turning against him, the human trafficker suddenly pushed us aside and tried to run away. The young man seized the opportunity to trip him with his foot, causing him to fall heavily to the ground, where he was pinned down by several courageous passengers. Little sister, are you okay? Molly's mother wiped away my tears. She had a pleasant scent that I really liked. I wish she could be my mother. Bullet comments. How did the female supporting character save the villain? Human traffickers should be rounded up and shot. Even so, she's going to take advantage of the situation to extort the female lead's parents again. I shook my head and turned to look at the young man who had been rescued. He was about 6 or 7 years old, his fair little face still showing a startled expression, though his eyes had already calmed down. The police arrived at the scene quickly. A female officer asked me about the situation. Little one, what's your name? Where are your mom and dad? I held the lollipop that had melted into a sticky mess and lowered my head. My name is Sarah. I don't have a dad. And my mom is gone too. The female police officer exchanged a sympathetic glance with her colleague. Mom always said that dad had his own family and didn't want us anymore. When she gets angry, she takes me to ask dad for money. Before going, she beats me up first. She says that when dad sees my bruises, he'll give the money. Occasionally, when dad comes to see us, she becomes happy. At that time, she would hold me and cry, saying she was sorry. My mother loves me, yet it seems she doesn't. The adults around all gasped in shock. Molly's mother immediately teared up and came over to hold my hand. Poor child, lost both parents at such a young age, the police officers whispered among themselves, thinking I was an orphan who had lost both parents. Molly's father sighed and said to his wife, maybe we should. At that moment, William's father strode over. He had just gone to confirm that the trafficker had been escorted into the police car and only now had a moment to come and check on me. After hearing the police's account, Uncle David's gaze softened. Sarah, I'm William's father. He's the older brother you just saved. Thank you for saving my son. I nodded timidly, stealing a glance at William standing behind him, just a moment ago. He was crying to the police, asking for his mother. Uncle David comforted him, saying his mother just wanted to go on a trip to relax. He'll be back in a while, so he's not crying now. The female police officer nearby called her colleagues to help search through the household registration system. Want to see if there's anyone else in my family, but her colleagues said they couldn't find my information. That's strange. How could there be no information at all? She muttered quietly and asked me again. Sarah, do you still remember where you live? I shook my head. I actually remember, but I can't say, because Mom has already abandoned me. It seems he was never registered. An older police officer sighed. We can only send her to Sunshine Orphanage for now. Hearing the words, orphanage, I shuddered all over. Aunt Jane next door once said that the children there never have enough to eat and are often bullied by the bad kids. Officer, if the child's family can't be found for the time being, we would like to apply to adopt her. It was Molly's dad who spoke first. Molly peeked out from behind her mom and handed me a piece of fruit candy with a smile. Will you be my little sister? I can be the older sister who makes dolls with you. I stared at the candy, my throat tightening. I want to, but I'm afraid I might become a bad person in the future. Bullet comments, the female lead has been kind-hearted since childhood, and the villain has already glanced at her several times. Hurry and send her to the welfare home. Don't let her harm our female lead. Upstairs, even without the female supporting character, there's still the villain. William quietly tugged at his father's sleeve. Uncle David understood and looked at me. Sarah, if you want a home, the Murphy family welcomes you. William has always wanted a sister. William nodded eagerly, looking at me with hopeful eyes. My gaze shifted between the Miller family and the Murphy family. Finally, taking a deep breath, I reached out my small hand and gently took Uncle David's hand. I want to go home with Uncle David. Molly's mother looked a little disappointed but still gently patted my head. Good child. Come and play at Auntie's house often in the future. She left an address for Uncle David, telling him that he could bring me over to play in the future. William rushed over and grabbed my hand. I have a little sister now. Uncle David's eyes flickered with a hint of a smile as he turned to the police officer. Sorry for the trouble with the procedures. The officer understood. Don't worry, Mr. David. We'll expedite the temporary guardianship process, and the adoption procedures can be completed later. And so, I was taken into the Murphy family's car. The Murphy family's dining room was so large it frightened me. The crystal chandelier overhead was so beautiful, because it was already noon when we arrived home. On the table, the nanny Lucy had laid out a full spread of dishes, their aroma wafting through the air. My stomach let out an involuntary growl, but I didn't dare take another look. Mom said that children who stare at other people's food are beggars. Sarah, come sit down. Uncle David pointed to the spot next to William. I swallowed hard. I'm not hungry. William ran over, grabbed me, and pulled me into the chair. Hurry up, there's sweet and sour pork ribs today. I held my bowl, not daring to pick up my chopsticks, watching William across from me devour the ribs like the big yellow dog at the village entrance. Not to your taste. Uncle David stared at my untouched bowl. I was so startled that I shivered, and my chopsticks fell on the table. I'm sorry, Sarah. Why are you saying sorry? Mom said children should eat less. Eating too much makes you gain weight. If I gain weight, Dad won't give me money anymore. so I'm only allowed to eat dinner at home. My younger brother is clever and sneaks food to me. The dining room suddenly fell silent. William stared at me with wide eyes. Chubby kids are cuter, and I'm very cute. If you don't eat enough, you won't have energy. How can you grow up without energy? Growing up is a physically demanding task. Uncle David said to Lucy, move the sweet and sour pork ribs in front of the child. Here, eat as much as you want. He used serving chopsticks to pick up the largest rib and put it in my bowl. The Murphy family isn't short of money for a meal. William followed suit and gave me half of the shrimp from his bowl. My sister is too thin. She needs to eat more meat. The sauce from the pork ribs seeped into the rice, glistening with an oily sheen. I took a cautious small bite, and a sweet sensation burst on the tip of my tongue. It was so delicious, it almost brought tears to my eyes. In the evening, after Lucy gave me a bath, she seemed to hesitate before speaking to Uncle David. Uncle David asked William to take me out to play. I faintly heard Lucy telling Uncle David that I was covered in injuries. Probably the child's parents favor boys over girls. Otherwise, how could such a young child have so many injuries? It's better if they're dead, if they're all gone. The child won't have to suffer anymore. Seeing that I was unhappy, William pulled me into the toy room. The shelves are filled with all kinds of toy figures, some of which I've seen in malls, and others I've only seen on TV. I widened my eyes in surprise. Are all of these yours, big brother? What do you like? I'll give it to you. William waved his little hand with great flair. I asked with envy, did your mom buy all these? He paused for a moment while moving a bubu, forcing a smile. Yeah. Every time I get a fever, my mom buys me a toy. Once I deliberately took a cold shower and got pneumonia, and she stayed home with me for 3 days. Bullet comments, the villain is so pitiful. He can only get his mother's attention by getting sick. The villain's mother doesn't like him because he looks a lot like his father. Their marriage was a business arrangement, but the villain's father truly loves his mother. He knew all along that his wife had a former lover from the past who was separated from her, yet he tolerated it. Does his mother not like him either? Does buying so many toys not count as love? Then, is your mother good to you? I mustered the courage to ask. William stuffed the plush toy into my arms, forcing a smile. Mom will buy me Legos and Iron Man toys. If I help her trick Dad, she'll be a little nicer to me. My heart ached. Last time I found out that Mom had put sleep-inducing medicine in the milk she gave me. Dad is quite angry. I think Mom must have taken the wrong one. I don't blame her. I just hope she comes back soon. As soon as he finished speaking, I saw Uncle David standing at the door at some point, looking dazed. After a while, he pretended he had just arrived and told us to go to sleep. At night, I slept on the big bed holding the bubu that William gave me, missing my mom and my little brother a bit. Next time I see my little brother, I'm going to give this bubu to him. He will definitely like it. The next day, the adoption paperwork came through, and Uncle David asked me if I wanted to go to school with William. Can I go to school? School is so boring. Let's go to the amusement park instead. The newly opened Legoland is so much fun. I want to go to school, I said quietly with my head down. The last time I went to ask for money, it was to ask my dad for my tuition fees. But Mom used it to play cards and lost it all. William pretended to be mature. You're still young and haven't experienced the harshness of school yet. When you start dreaming of ABCD in the middle of the night, you'll know your life is about to be over. Now that I can go to school, I don't need to get beaten to ask Dad for money. At Dad's house, there's an older sister. Every time I go, Dad talks about how she got first place in an exam or won a prize in a piano competition. If I become smart too, will Dad come back to our home? But deep down, I know, there is no such thing as a home. Aunt Jane next door said that Mom is the other woman, and she doesn't even have a marriage certificate. After hearing this, Mom went to smash the window in the middle of the night. She said that the one who isn't loved is the real other woman. And a worthless piece of paper means nothing to her. Dad loves her, so she isn't the other woman. But why doesn't she understand? Dad loves us, so why doesn't he live with us? Later on, he didn't even want to see me or Mom. My brother is Mom's hope. She believes that as long as he is here, Dad will eventually come back to her. Mom said, that woman can't have a son anymore. Only Jack is your father's only son. William frowned deeply. Do you really want to go to school? I nodded. He let out a long sigh. All right, I'll go to school with you. Don't hide under the covers and cry secretly when you fail your exams later. But it's summer vacation now, and school is already out. Real school won't start until 2 months later. After the meal, I learned that William was already 7 years old and in the first grade of elementary school. Meanwhile, I was just starting from the kindergarten level, still far from reading and writing. When will I be able to get first place in the exam? With that thought, I anxiously grabbed William's sleeve and shook it back and forth. Can't I go to elementary school with you? He rolled his eyes. Just pretend to be my twin sister. It's simple, but you're a bit short, so maybe we should say you're a dwarf. Bullet comments. LOL. He called the villainess a dwarf. How tall can a 3-year-old be? Calling someone a dwarf is a bit of a personal attack, William. I didn't give you that name so you could become my rebellious son. Uncle David came downstairs, holding a crumpled piece of paper in his hand. William froze in place after seeing it, forcing an awkward smile. Let's talk this out calmly, he spoke while stepping back, his eyes darting around. While I was still puzzled, he ducked under the table in the blink of an eye. Uncle David stood by the table and threw the paper on the ground. On it were 2 red numbers. I only understand one. I don't understand the numbers after that. Explain it. Why did you hide the 16-point test paper under my pillow? William cowered. The surprise I prepared for Dad. Oh, 16 points is indeed a surprise. It almost made me want to take you for a paternity test. Bullet comments. How much? 16 points. In math. I'm dying of laughter. He even wrote his name as W. Did the troublemaker think hiding the test paper under his dad's pillow would keep it from being discovered? The principle of darkness under the lamp was vividly demonstrated by him. Uncle David took off his slipper and held it in his hand. Domestic violence is illegal. Dad, sister just got here. At least pretend to be decent. William hugged his butt and refused to come out no matter what. Uncle David's temple twitched. Fine, starting today, you're going to tutor me. Last semester, the teacher called me every other day, and I was almost traumatized. William's face turned ashen. The barrage is scrolling wildly. Is it a bit too competitive? Starting tutoring in the first grade of elementary school, with a score of 16, shouldn't you get tutoring, which CEO gets scolded by the teacher all the time? I feel a little sorry for him, but not too much. Uncle David hired 3 tutors, 1 for Chinese, 1 for math, and 1 for English, each for 2 hours. The math teacher is a scholarly old gentleman, but when he loses his temper, his spit can spray all over William's face. Aunt is 27 years old this year, and Fiona is 5 years old. In 20 years, how much older will Aunt be than Fiona? You say 2 years. Does only Fiona age, and Aunt doesn't? William stubbornly retorted. What if Aunt passed away at 27? The old man rolled his eyes and clutched his chest. I'm about to die at 56. Afternoon Chinese class. I lay by the coffee table drawing, occasionally sneaking glances at William scratching his head and scribbling corrections on his test paper. Does Sarah want to learn too? The Chinese teacher asked me with a smile. I nodded and quickly moved my small stool to squeeze in next to William. The teacher taught, spring passes and autumn comes, and I learned it faster than William. Sarah is so smart, the Chinese teacher exclaimed in surprise. It's just that I don't have the strength in my hands to write. I can only recognize characters. When Uncle David came back in the evening to check the results, William was in the bathroom. He went to the bathroom 15 times in one day. Ask and you'll find out it's diarrhea. Actually, he was hiding in there to slack off. How about it? The old gentleman lamented. Your son is skilled in sophistry and has a silver tongue. English teacher. William is actually quite good at foreign languages, though I'm not sure which one it is. He speaks it very fluently. Uncle David barely held back a smile as he saw the 3 teachers off. This time, even my pleading didn't help. He dragged William into the study and gave him a good scolding. At dinner, William would hold his rice bowl, squatting in a horse stance, eating plain rice with tears. This situation lasted for a full 2 months. I watched as he learned to feign illness amid constant beatings, only to be beaten again. His skin grew thicker, but his academic performance remained unknown. The kindergarten that Uncle David found for me is connected to William's school, in the first month of going there. I fell in love with school. At the kindergarten, there are different snacks every day. Sometimes I secretly bring some back for William. He says he's had enough to eat, but he's actually very happy. He even brags to Uncle David, saying it was his sister who specially brought it for him. William is afraid that I won't make friends, so he stuffs my bag with toys every day to share. He says this is called winning people over. Today I just finished handing out Paw Patrol stickers. And even the most mischievous Julia became my sworn brother. After school, I obediently waited in line for Uncle David or the driver Bob to pick me up. The black car was parked by the roadside. I was about to run over when I suddenly felt a push on my back, rushing onto the road. It seemed about to crash into the traffic. Penny's mother grabbed my arm. "Who pushed you?" she asked angrily. I turned around in a panic, and the street was bustling with people, every parent looking as calm as usual. They gathered around, all talking at once. "What happened? Did someone push the child? Who's the heartless bastard that did this? Call the police, arrest him, and execute him." Bullet comments. "Did you all just see that? Am I seeing things? I saw it. That's why it's unbelievable. The one who pushed was actually the female lead's mother. How did she know the female lead goes to school here? I saw her as if she came to pick someone up. She scurried away like a rat, slipping away in an instant." Bob was so frightened that his face turned pale, and he immediately told Uncle David when he got home. Uncle David asked me if I had seen who it was. I hesitated for a long time and shook my head. Mom just didn't want me anymore. How could she want me to die? Could it be that they said it wrong? Isn't that, Mom? Friday after school. While I was waiting in line at the gate, I saw William sneaking around by the wall, wearing his school jacket inside out, covering half of his face. "Sarah, come here quickly." He craned his neck and waved furtively. I told the teacher that my brother had come to pick me up and ran toward him. By the roadside, the car window rolled down, revealing Bob's puzzled face. "William, school's out so early today." William was surprised. "You can recognize me just like that." He remained calm and composed. The school exploded, so I'm out of school." Bob's expression was indescribable. Bullet screen comments are hilarious. "The villain's mouth is like a little train, running without bounds. Does the principal know he's unemployed? Who did it?" I took out the strawberry biscuits Julia gave me and shared them with William. "Brother, these are super delicious, with sweet strawberry jam inside." William mumbled with the biscuit in his mouth. "What's this?" "I'll bring them wasabi-filled cookies tomorrow to blow their minds." Before the words had even finished, a black car suddenly charged toward us. Bob reacted extremely quickly, dashing over in a flash and pushing us aside. William and I tumbled and rolled far away. The front of the car hit the nearby plane tree but did not stop. The driver reversed and fled. Bob trembled as he called the police. William scrambled up to check if I was injured. "There are scratches on his face, and his nose is bleeding from the impact." As soon as he opened his mouth to grin, one of his front teeth fell out. "Oh no, my tooth." "Never mind, it's worth it. I saved Sarah." I watched him wipe his nosebleed without a care, and burst into tears with a loud cry. "Brother, don't die, don't save me. I don't want you to bleed. Don't cry, don't cry. It's just a nosebleed. My dad could beat it out of me too." William lifted the hem of his shirt to wipe my tears. "If I don't save my only sister, who else would I save?" The police car and Uncle David's car arrived almost at the same time. Uncle David saw us and immediately pulled us into a hug. After a long moment, he finally spoke. "Son, well done." At the police station, the police officer said the driver who hit the person has been found, but he is mentally ill. During his episode, he mistook me for the daughter his wife had with another man. What a coincidence. He just happened to mistake Sarah for his wife's illegitimate daughter. Uncle David doesn't believe it. The driver provokes. "Just wait until I get out, you little bitch." SC Sanatorium, under the Murphy family group, can waive your treatment fees. It's safer for mentally ill patients to stay in a psychiatric hospital. He panicked. "I'm not sick. I was just paid to do the job." It turned out that he had once bragged online about having a psychiatric record, which he obtained through some connections. It was like a get-out-of-jail-free card. Someone anonymously provided him with my information and offered him $100,000 to take my life. I don't even know who that person is. I just took a $50,000 deposit. At worst, can I just hand it over to the authorities? I don't know if it's possible. But 2 days later, William secretly asked about that driver. Uncle David said nonchalantly, "Why are you asking about a mentally ill person? The person who anonymously bought my life hasn't been found yet." Everyone in the comments is saying it's Mom, but where would Mom get the money? If she had money, she wouldn't have abandoned me, so it definitely wasn't her. Mid-Autumn Festival happened to be my good friend Bella's birthday, and she invited me to her house for a birthday party. William was afraid someone might take his sister away, so he insisted on going with me. After I arrived, I realized it was my dad's house. Bullet comments, "Oh, isn't this Bella, the younger daughter of the female supporting character's father?" Her father married into the family. No wonder he had 2 children outside with his own surname. This is a disaster. The female supporting character is probably going to make a scene. The original plot is that the female supporting character was adopted by the female lead's parents and came to the birthday party with the female lead, right? She took the opportunity to reveal that her father had another family outside, which led to him completely cutting off the living expenses for her mother and younger brother. Is Bella the father's youngest daughter? When my mother brought me to ask for money before, we were never allowed inside. I was always stopped in the alley at the entrance. If asked, it's a distant relative coming to borrow money. I only briefly saw a beautiful older sister at my dad's house. I haven't met Bella. Upstairs. A familiar voice could be heard. It was Dad, but he didn't recognize me. To be precise, he had never seen me dressed neatly and with a fuller face. Bella, this is a gift from Dad. Happy birthday to my little princess. Daddy has some work to finish at the office, so I have to leave for a bit. I'll make it up to my little princess with a big gift later. Okay, the beautiful older sister also handed over a gift, even though you're always snatching my jewelry. This time I used my allowance to buy you a gift. No more grabbing from now on. Okay, Mom slowly wheeled out the cake. How is she at Dad's house? Molly recognized me at a glance in the crowd. Sarah, you're here too. Are you a classmate of Bella's? Last time I said you should come and hang out with me. Why didn't you reach out? I gave you my address. I instinctively turned around and saw my mother staring at me with a pale face, as if she had seen a ghost. Nina. Sarah likes to drink apple juice. Go get some more. Bella turned her head and instructed. She stiffly brought the apple juice and accidentally spilled it on my skirt while pouring it for me. I'm sorry, Miss Sarah. Let me take you to the restroom to clean it up. The word, Mom, slipped out of my mouth, but she pinched my waist hard, and I swallowed the rest of the word in pain. She dragged me into the first-floor restroom and locked the door from the inside. Mom, I timidly called out. She slapped me across the face, her expression fierce as if she wanted to devour me. Shut up. Who said I'm your mom? How did you get here? Who allowed you to come? I finally managed to move into Louis' house with your brother. If you dare ruin this for me. Bella is knocking on the door outside. Nina, I'm going to cut the cake. Where's the knife? Mom's expression softened. Coming right away. Then, turning back, it became fierce again. Pretend you don't know me later. After we go out, say you're not feeling well and need to go back. Did you hear me? She pinched me again. If you dare to speak recklessly, I'll cut off your tongue. Bella was twisting the doorknob outside the door. Nina, Sarah, what are you doing? Why isn't it done yet? Mom turned on the faucet, pretending to wipe me clean. She leaned close to my ear and whispered a threat. Smile like you do when you ask your dad for money. Can't you pretend to be good? I tried to force the corners of my mouth upward while enduring the pain. Bullet comments. This mom is so scary. Does the female lead live like this every day? If it were me, I'd be wicked too. This mom has been reborn. So why is she still following the same old path? She could have worked hard to correct her daughter and make her a kind and upright person. But instead, she abandoned her at the train station. Can she not live without a man? She actually used her memories to save the original wife in advance, then had an affair right under the wife's nose while posing as a nanny. It turns out that after being reborn, my mother's choice was to give up on me early. Don't worry, Miss Sarah's dress is still a bit wet. Bella, Sarah, you can wear my dress. We're about the same height. Molly, who had followed along, looked at my face with suspicion and said, Sarah, why is your face so red? I instinctively covered my left cheek, and my mother immediately stepped in front of me. Miss Sarah, are you allergic to something? She urged. Miss, please go cut the cake. I'll take Miss Sarah home. No, she hasn't given me a gift yet. Bella grabbed me and snatched the gift box from my arms. After opening it, she exclaimed, It's the limited edition Barbie doll. William helped me pick it out. He said you girls love these princess dolls the most, Molly said enviously. Last time my mom took me to buy it, but it was said that someone else had already bought it. Oh, it was you. I remember now. That was originally the Murphy family's department store. No wonder you were able to get it. Mom gasped in shock. The Murphy family. Which Murphy family? It's the Murphy family that adopted Sarah. I just found out that William is actually my classmate, though he's in the class next door. The bullet comments floated by. Mom should know that Sarah was adopted by the antagonist's family. So what? Do you feel like you abandoned your daughter, changed the plot, and now want to take her back? What? Are you taking advantage of the child being young and having no memory? Miss Sarah, why didn't you tell me earlier that you are a child of the Murphy family? My lips trembled. I would rather be my mother's child than Uncle David's, but she didn't want me anymore. Bella leaned over and kissed my swollen, red cheek. Sarah. This is the best gift I've ever received. Can we be friends forever? My nose tingled with emotion. She was the first good friend I made in kindergarten. Out of the corner of my eye, my mother glared at me with a dark expression. I sniffled, clutched my stomach, and crouched down. I'm not feeling well. I want to go home. I'll take our little guest to rest first, and take her home later. Mom forced a smile and helped me up. Outside the door, William rushed in when he heard I wasn't feeling well. Sarah, is your stomach hurting badly? Let me take you. His voice suddenly cut off, his gaze falling on my face. I hurriedly lowered my head, but it was already too late. William cupped my face, looking left and right. Why does a stomachache leave a slap mark on the face? And no, it doesn't. I shook my head frantically. He held my face firmly, not letting me move. Who did this? Bella and Molly looked at each other in fear. Was it her? William pointed sharply at his mother. His voice filled with menace. I just saw her dragging you. The mother's face turned pale as she argued. Don't talk nonsense. Little one, I was just taking Miss Sarah to the restroom to clean the juice off her clothes. Bullshit. William shielded me behind him in an instant. I'm used to being hit. This is clearly a slap mark. Such a large slap mark. Do you think I'm blind? Your hands are the biggest here. The guests gathered around upon hearing the noise. Does my sister dare to hit me? William, believe it or not, I'll have my dad take you out. Bullet comments. Isn't the villain's dad supposed to be a law-abiding citizen? What is this rebellious kid talking about? Is take you out the kind of take you out? I think it is. At such a young age, he's already starting to have dark thoughts. That's something else. It's hilarious that he might as well have said to let Ultraman take her away. Mom's face turned from pale to livid. She gave me a look, signaling me to speak up for her, but I kept my head down, pretending not to see. As long as she says sorry to me, I'll forgive Mom. I just want an apology. Mom hesitated, then took a pearl necklace out of her pocket. Everyone, while I was wiping this child's skirt, I found this in her pocket. It was this child I caught stealing, and she deliberately slapped herself, trying to get me to let her off. But I'm the nanny for the Lewis family. How could I possibly bite the hand that feeds me? The crowd erupted. Mrs. Lewis walked over, took the necklace, and took a look. It's the necklace I put in the jewelry box. I just bought it last month. I was trembling all over, and my vision kept going black. I've never even seen that necklace before. Bullet comments. My mom is so toxic. How could she frame her own daughter? I support the female antagonist's dark turn. You're talking nonsense. William flew into a rage. What kind of jewelry does my sister not have? Last month, my dad just bought her a pink diamond crown at an auction to celebrate her 3rd birthday belatedly. Would Sarah even be interested in these pearls? William's words made Mom's face twist in displeasure. I heard Miss Sarah is adopted. Who knows what kind of background an adopted child comes from? It's only natural for someone from a poor family to have such a narrow perspective. I only half understood what she said, but the words, when put together, pierced my heart like 1,000 needles. I bit my lower lip hard, tears welling up in my eyes. Even the barrage comments couldn't stand it. I declare, this mom has won the title of the most toxic mom of the year. What on earth is she spouting nonsense about? Has the supporting female character done anything bad so far? I believe in Sarah. Bella held my hand. Last week, she was the one who helped me find the diamond hair clip I lost. Mom, Sarah is my good friend. She wouldn't steal your things. Mrs. Lewis was deep in thought. Mom sneered coldly. Maybe she was the one who stole the hairpin, pretending to find it and return it to you just to cozy up to the Lewis family, all to get a chance to steal something even more valuable. If you keep talking nonsense. Are you out of your mind too? William took out his phone and called his dad. Dad, your daughter is being bullied. Come and back me up. Mom is still trying to persuade me to admit it. Miss Sarah, just admit it. Children should be brave enough to own up to their mistakes. The entire room fell silent. Through my tear-filled eyes, I saw the doubtful look in Mrs. Lewis's eyes, the disdainful looks from the others. Mother's lips curled into a smug smile. She bet I wouldn't dare to speak the truth. Since childhood, I've grown accustomed to accepting things as they come. I've never dared to disobey my mother's words. In fact, as soon as she raised her hand, would immediately kneel down and admit my mistake. I didn't steal. My voice was very soft, as faint as a mosquito's hum. My hand, hanging at my side, clenched into a fist, gripping tightly. She is not my mother anymore. She left me at the train station. She was the one who abandoned me first. I have a dad now. It's Uncle David. I didn't steal it. She framed me. My voice grew louder, and I lifted my head. William stood tall with his head held high. Did you hear that? My sister said she didn't steal it. Mother's smile froze on her face. She clearly hadn't expected me, who had always been obedient, to dare to resist, unable to hold back. She broke down instantly. You little brat. How dare you deny it? Don't you dare insult my sister. A small, thin figure suddenly rushed out from the crowd. My younger brother spread his arms and stood in front of me. I took the necklace. This twist left everyone stunned. Mom hurriedly covered his mouth. What nonsense are you talking? You're so short you can't even reach the dresser. Didn't I tell you not to come out of the room? Bullet comments. The younger brother, though living under someone else's roof with this mother in the servants' quarters, has been clamoring to go out and find his sister. Last time, he accidentally called out, Dad, and got beaten by this mother. This mother claims it's for her son's sake, but in reality, she's the most selfish, doing everything for herself. The younger brother struggled desperately. Mom, why are you scolding my sister? It was clearly Dad who gave it to you. I saw it. Mrs. Lewis glanced at the mother and took out her phone. Jason, get back here right now. Mom was so scared that sweat kept beading on her forehead. Mrs. Lewis. It's just a child talking nonsense. Dad arrived with Uncle David. During this time, the guests were all sent away. We've already checked the surveillance footage, and it shows that I never went upstairs at all. Mom's hands were trembling, and her eyes were shifting nervously. Jason, are you sure you didn't send this necklace? Mrs. Lewis smiled faintly, holding the pearl necklace. Dad spoke with righteous indignation. How could I possibly give jewelry to the nanny? He slapped Mom hard across the face. Nina, not only did you teach the child to falsely recognize a father, but you also dare to accuse me of giving you a necklace. Are you even worthy? Mom staggered a few steps from the blow. Without a word, she grabbed her younger brother. Kneel down and apologize. Who told you to call him Dad so recklessly? No, I rushed forward to shield my brother. He's not wrong. Why should he apologize? Bullet comments. Trashy dad and stepmom are a perfect match. A kept man trying to keep a mistress like others. This slap is a bit asymmetrical. Suggest giving one on the right side too, Bella said in disbelief. So, you might be my older sister, or younger sister. No wonder you look familiar. Her sister tugged at her. Don't talk nonsense. William stepped in between us. You're dreaming. This is my sister, from the Murphy family. He glared fiercely, his hand gripping mine tightly, afraid that I would run away. Dad's face was ashen. Bella. Don't talk nonsense. I only have you two daughters. I'll contact the hospital right now for a paternity test. Fine, I know someone at the hospital. We can get the results in 3 hours with an expedited service. Uncle David sneered. There's no need to trouble President David, Dad said dryly. Uncle David noticed the swollen slap mark on my face, and his tone grew cold. I'm also curious what kind of beast would abandon their own child. Not that I intend to return her to you. Sarah's last name is Way now. Dad's eyes darted away. Mrs. Lewis threw the pearl necklace in her hand right at his face. Jason, did you think you've been hiding it well all these years? Those cheap women you have outside. I've turned a blind eye for the sake of your face. But how dare you betray my two daughters? Mom was kneeling on the ground, desperately signaling to me with her eyes, while Dad's legs seemed a bit unsteady. Mrs. Lewis calmed her tone and turned to ask me, Sarah, tell me the truth. Is Jason your dad? I looked at everyone's expressions, suddenly remembered that rainy day before the new year. Just because Dad wouldn't give me money, Mom tore my clothes open on the street, saying she wanted everyone to see how pitiful an illegitimate child could be. She forced me to kneel on the road, not even noticing the shard of glass beneath my knee. The two were pulling and pushing each other, exchanging accusations. Not long after, Mom was cheered up by Dad's few words of assurance. Neither of them noticed that I was trembling all over in pain. After returning, I even came down with a high fever. Mom praised me for behaving well and made me a meal of braised pork. But I have a fever and no appetite, so I can't eat. She told my brother to eat, but when he saw that I wasn't eating, he didn't eat either. In the end, Mom ate it all. Sarah. Mom's voice jolted me awake, in my memory. It seems she has never begged me for anything, only I have been the one begging her all along, begging her not to hit me, not to scold me. I lifted my head and avoided her gaze. It used to be, but from now on, Uncle David is the only father I have." William breathed a sigh of relief. Mother screamed and lunged at me, trying to scratch my face. "Mrs. Lewis, this child is full of lies. I'll tear your mouth apart." David held me to avoid the impact. He had someone call the police. Abandonment and abuse. "You can explain to the police who is lying." Bullet comments. "Wow, this mom really played a great hand poorly, waiting for the scumbag dad's ending. Sarah has endured all the hardships, and she will surely be happy in the Murphy family from now on." The police arrived and took away the mother, who was still trying to make excuses. Before leaving, she viciously threatened that Mr. Way would definitely regret it. Dad was kicked out of the house by Mrs. Lewis. He didn't even take my brother with him and drove away directly. The Bella sisters, with red-rimmed eyes, were sobbing in Mrs. Lewis's arms. "I feel a bit guilty. If it weren't for me, they wouldn't have lost their father." My younger brother clung to my clothes, shrinking beside me in fear, his face full of terror. "Dad, why don't we just pick up another one? It's like picking up a stray dog." William pointed at my brother. Uncle David picked me up and told William to hold my brother's hand. "Let's go, let's head home." William was chattering away behind. "You're a little man now, no need to hold hands. Only little girls hold hands. Walk on your own." "Oh dear, your legs are so short, even shorter than Sarah's. What a hassle." "Here, take my hand and hold on tight." My younger brother's procedures are more complicated because he has a guardian, our mom. So we can't directly adopt him. 3 days later, when Dad Way returned from the detention center, he went into the study and didn't even come down for dinner. Bullet comments. The supporting female character's mother revealed everything about her rebirth, telling him that William would become the antagonist and Sarah would turn into the malicious supporting female character, in order to save her son's life and alter the plot's direction. She not only pushed Sarah onto the road while picking up Bella from school but also deliberately bribed the driver to run over and kill Sarah. The money for it was even given by Jason. Upon realizing that he had raised 2 terrorists all along, David's world came crashing down. Who could possibly accept that? However, he agreed to hire a lawyer for the female supporting character's mother and, in exchange, gained custody of his younger brother. A lawyer, that guy is a perennial loser. Does he know I'm going to be a villain in the future? Will he abandon me then? I picked up a cup of water and went upstairs. I stood at the study door and thought for a long time. Even if it's no longer needed, I should still say a proper goodbye. Uncle David is a good father. If I could, I really wish he could be my dad. "Uncle David, I'm here to deliver the water." I knocked on the door. The door opened a crack. He was flipping through the photo album, which was filled with pictures of William. From his infancy to the present. She said the son I raised would become a cold-blooded villain. She also said you would turn into a malicious female antagonist, and the two of you would end up harming many people together. My hand trembled, and the cup shook slightly. "I won't do it. William won't either. He saved me and even took my brother in." "David, I don't believe you'll become bad kids. Sarah is clearly so kind. And as for William, although his grades aren't great, he has a good heart. Even if you do something wrong in the future, it's because I, as a father, didn't teach you well. It's my fault." Nyan Guifan didn't understand that the chance to start over was a gift from heaven to help her keep her 2 children. But I breathed a sigh of relief and asked, "Dad, you won't abandon me, will you?" "Why would I abandon you? You're my daughter." Tears had unknowingly welled up in my eyes. My heart felt both swollen and bitter. After leaving the study, everything had changed. Yet it seemed as if nothing had changed. Way's father no longer went to look for William's mother. He said if everything was destined, he would no longer force it, but he would never give up on us. William's reaction was very calm when he learned that his mother would not return. I knew she was going to leave a long time ago. After all, every time she was about to leave, she would treat me especially well. She was very unhappy when she was with my dad. No one can stay with something they dislike, just like how I don't like eating cilantro. If someone forced me to eat it, I'd be unhappy too. Time flies. All these years, I've avoided contact with Molly, afraid that I might hurt her, but William couldn't avoid it. They went from the same elementary school to the same high school, and then they were admitted to the same university. For some reason, he always seems to have a resistance towards Molly, the moment he sees her. It's like a mouse spotting a cat, he flees in a flash. I was really curious and asked him why he was so afraid of Sister Molly. He said indignantly, "She has ulterior motives. Every time we meet, she asks about you, like a human trafficker. Isn't it just because she couldn't win against me when we were kids? She even complains that if it weren't for my playing the victim trick, you would have been her sister long ago. Under Mr. Way's guidance, both William and I have grown up well. But it was completely unexpected that the one in the family who should have been the least likely to go astray turned out to be my younger brother. In high school, he became a rebellious kid with dyed hair, skipping classes, sneaking out of school, and scoring 0 on exams. William and I would go catch him right after school every day. One of us would block the back door of the school, the other the front door. We were so busy we didn't even have time to turn to the dark side. As for the male lead, Andy, who is it? I haven't seen them. If William is so guarded even around Molly, how much more so would he be around someone of the opposite sex near me? After hearing the 2 stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.